The railroad has been essential to the development and identity of the United States, serving as a crucial means of transportation and a symbol of progress. Its historical significance is evident in the westward expansion of the 19th century, particularly with the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869, which connected the nation and facilitated the movement of goods and people. This not only boosted economic growth but also fostered cultural exchange, creating a shared American experience. In modern times, the railroad remains vital to the nation's infrastructure. Freight trains transport over 1.7 billion tons of goods annually, providing an efficient and environmentally friendly alternative to road transport. This helps reduce traffic congestion and lower greenhouse gas emissions, aligning with the growing focus on sustainability. Passenger rail services, such as Amtak, further emphasize the railroad's importance by offering affordable travel options that connect urban and rural communities. This accessibility promotes social equity and allows diverse individuals to engage with different regions of the country. Moreover, the railroad industry supports millions of jobs and drives advancements in technology and engineering. As a critical asset in addressing contemporary transportation challenges, the railroad embodies the spirit of innovation and unity that defines the American experience. Its significance resonates in the lives of all Americans, linking them to their past and shaping their future.
Anyway, I got David Coleman with us here. Hey, Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Mike. Appreciate you having me on tonight. How you doing?
Oh, doing fine, and going to be back in getting videos here pretty soon. Here, probably toward around Thursday or so. So,
awesome, man.
I got a new vehicle, so
good to hear. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. By the way, it's a 2019 Ford Explorer Police Interceptor.
Wow, that'd be nice.
Anyway, so I'll be zooming around in that, though. Anyway, so how you want to proceed tonight?
Yeah, I got a lot of things to talk about tonight. I guess first story I was going to talk about was the BNSF. The customers invested $5.3 billion in them last year. I guess to complete 117 rail service projects. So obviously this created a lot of jobs, expanded capacity across the system, big time economic growth, and some of the projects were the $27 million investment into the facility at the U.S. Steel plant down in Osceola, Arkansas, to expand and improve the state's rail infrastructure. Includes about 40 miles of track to manage inbound raw materials and outbound finished steel. Then it looks like they did something in South Dakota where they completed the soybean processors, High Plains processing plant, over a $500 million project.
Wow.
This plant is now capable of processing 35 million bushels of soybeans annually. It's a rail serve facility with access to the BNSF main line. They also, they added a new certified site near Mobile, Alabama, the first certified site to be served by a BNSF short line select partner, the Alabama and Gulf Coast Railway, which is part of the Genesee and Wyoming. It's near the port of Mobile, so it gives them a lot of good access to the Gulf Coast and, near some major interstates there. It's something else. I mean, obviously they're BNSF's doing a lot of good things. Probably of all the class ones, Mike, they're probably the one railroad that never really fully adopted the precision railroading stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously they have aspects of it in their operations, but they never guzzled the precision railroading Kool-Aid like the Union Pacific did or these other railroads. So you could see that there's a little more commitment to their business. You see it with their traffic, too. I feel like their traffic is probably, on any of the lines, probably the busiest freight line in the country probably is their line, that southern Transcon line that goes between Southern California and Chicago. So, they've really done a good job, I would say, of being able to kind of stay, away, totally not, they've dipped their toes in with the PSR stuff, but they just didn't get drunk on it like the other railroads.
Yeah, it seems like BNSF has a pretty good record. Not like Union Pacific, though. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Because I rarely hear anything major going on with BNSF, but not like Union Pacific, and well, I guess Norfolk Southern would have to be the next one. They've had their share of problems there within the last decade or so.
Sure, yeah, they really have. Yeah, especially when that Squires guy came in and really turned it upside down and inside out with the precision railroading.
Yeah.
And cut a lot of things and changed a lot of things that they didn't need to change at that time.
I'd say so. Okay, well, as you know, ain't nothing new with me on this end, though, because I haven't been able to get out, though. But I will be shortly, so we'll have to meet up here somewhere, too.
Forward to it, man.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. So, I got to briefly look at some of the things that you come up, though, but, man, I've been so darn busy, I'll tell you, though, and looking for this vehicle, finally found the one, so that's another story later.
Well, I'm glad you got one. That's the biggest thing, man. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. The next story was the California. This is out in California. They allocated $900 million for rail, other transportation projects to advance mass transit systems, expand pedestrian and bicycle options, and improve freight movement. State officials announced yesterday. One of the projects is a $273 million project to deploy new technology to rail systems now under construction in the Bay Area and Southern California, including a expansive tunnel that connects San Jose to Santa Clara as part of the Bay Area Rapid Transit's regional expansion. $35 million to complete the design and construction of rail power infrastructure in Los Angeles. $33 million to expand freight rail operations at the Port of Long Beach, and $3 million to protect eroding coastal bluffs in San Diego County, building on prior investments to secure critical coastal rail infrastructure with the impacts of climate change. So, obviously, Mike, they know how important, commuter rail is there. We know, the freight railroads are important in California, too, because a lot of these shipments that come from overseas, they're coming right in at Long Beach there, and then they're getting picked up by the UP and the BNSF. And those are trains that are, that stuff is getting shipped across the country. I mean, it's not just going down the street. That stuff is going to Chicago. It's going to Memphis. It's going to New Orleans. It's going to Jacksonville, northern New Jersey, Boston, you name it, man. It's probably going to another city in the country. So that's a real big area. And then plus the passenger trains in those areas, Mike, those are big areas where, a lot of people live. And let's face it, it's not the easiest thing to drive around in California. I've never been there, but I think a train is a good alternative because I've heard the traffic is pretty rough in California.
Or I don't care to drive in it. I don't care to even ever go to California. Not at all. Not the way things are going over there, though. But oops. I got to turn that other radio. That's mission control of our Autonomous 2 space mission. Hang on, let me turn that down.
All right.
I forgot it was even on in the background. Okay, we won't be interrupted, though. But I'll be talking about that probably in my next turn, though, or what I think of it. So anyway, that's another topic for the next round. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, so another story is the Illinois Commerce Commission recently approved an annual 5-year crossing safety improvement project, which authorizes $376 million in funding for grade crossing safety improvements at 387 locations. Let's see, Chicago Central Pacific Track in South Elgin. There's going to be a $35 million grade separation on the UP track in Des Plaines, supported with $18 million in GCPF funding, and a $15.5 million grade separation on UP track in Elmhurst. They're going to get $5 million from the GCPF as well. New gates, new warning signs. This is big too. I mean, in that Chicago area in Illinois, Mike, that's kind of the area where you get a lot of trains. Obviously, you get a lot of commuter trains with the Metro, and it seems like that area to me has had a lot of issues last several years, where I think the reality was they just were not operating. How do I say? I mean, I think they needed to modernize certain things, because there were a lot of diamonds. There were a lot of different areas where they just didn't have the right infrastructure. And I think they know now that, like, you've got to have bridges where tracks don't have to cross one another. You got to have gates that are safer for pedestrians and for traffic. So I think this is the right thing to do in a state like Illinois, where railroading
I've been looking
really
at that.
Important.
Yeah, I'm surprised Illinois, they're even bothered with Illinois, but you got to be safe for them tracks no matter where you are. So I don't know if they paying for it, or is the state of Illinois is helping pay for the crossing upgrades and stuff. I didn't get to read it all that thorough though. What's the deal on it?
Yeah, it sounds like there's going to be some government. It sounds like the government's going to be grade crossing protection fund in the Rebuild Illinois program. So obviously there's going to be, coming from the state side of things, they're going to be helping them out. So
I'm shocked.
I am too. I'm surprised, but I think like we were talking earlier, I think that area, Mike, railroading is just, I mean, it's the middle of the country. Chicago means so much to railroads, and I think, to me, that's an area where they need to do better with the infrastructure, because that's where all these trains meet and all these railroads interchange. And if you don't have a good system, that's been one of the complaints, and that's one of the things, if this UP-NS merger goes through, that they might divert some trains out of Chicago just because of the congestion. So I think if you can upgrade anything there, it doesn't hurt.
Well, I don't want to see UP merging with NS at all. That's going to be a downfall, though. But I'm surprised the state of Illinois is going to be putting some of the funding out. It seems like they'd be more interested in putting funding for the illegals. They got that sanctuary city up there, No, maybe they're upgrading protect the illegals. So I guess the crossbucks is kind of universal for all railroad crossings. I think they might understand that, which half of them don't even have valid license in the first place. Shouldn't even be driving, especially semi-truck drivers. Oh God, I'll bring that up though sometime too. So anyway, next thing you know, we'll have illegal immigrants on railroad trains. We don't need that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those videos of, like, those people get on those stack trains and ride around the country. And they've gone they've gone to Mexico and Canada. Those I don't know how those people get away with it. That's some interesting stuff. Actually, where I sit in Hudson, one of the guys has a video that goes right by there. So it's kind of crazy how they they do that. They don't get caught. But it is interesting. Chicago is like Memphis and those other cities too, where you've got people breaking into trains, and I think that was something we talked about last month, that CSX was trying to upgrade their infrastructure to protect that in Memphis. But these people, it's kind of like using the steroid users in baseball. Like, they'll find a different masking agent to cover it up ultimately. So I have a feeling that those guys will, the problem is railroads have cut back on their police so much you can't patrol every area where these guys get into these container trains.
Yeah, and I don't think they secure them well enough anyway. They just put on a damn cheap seal, metal seal or something, and any bolt cutter, or whatever, they got a logging bolt cutter's going to cut it off. They're going to get in there no matter what.
Yes,
I would think so. And I've seen a number of them open, though, come through here before, so.
Yep. No, I've seen a few. Yeah, I've seen a few doors be open for sure. Yeah, that's not an uncommon sight. But while we're talking about intermodal and stuff, the Palm Beach, the Port of Palm Beach in Riviera Beach, Florida, a few weeks ago, they marked a completion of a multi-year $30 million port infrastructure. They completed 6 months ahead of schedule, rehabbed about 6.5 miles of on-site track, according to the press release, expanding freight rail capacity at the port. And it's going to be good for this because this is something, Mike, where, Florida East Coast serves this right off of their main line there that they share with the Bright Line. And a lot of these trains down there, Mike, stop there and they, either pick up stuff from the Caribbean or they drop stuff off that goes to the Caribbean. So big time move here for them. Obviously, that's something that can only be looked at as a positive in an area where Florida East Coast is really dominant. CSX has very little presence anymore in South Florida. They've sold their track down there, years ago, and they have very few trains they run, and it's basically Florida East Coast running the show down there with freight operations.
Wow. Okay. So CSX sold their tracks down there, some of them, are you saying, down there?
Yeah, so south of West Palm Beach, they don't own the track. I mean, they might still maintain it. I think they might even dispatch it, but they don't own it. It's owned by the state. That's where the Tri-Rail runs the commuter trains. Yeah. And Amtrak also runs on that line. So it's a very passenger-heavy line. There's a few freights that CSX runs, but they mainly run them at night. And, but CSX pretty much is Central Florida. They're pretty big around that Bone Valley and a lot of the phosphate mines. But they're not, once they get into South Florida, Mike, pretty much all your freight operations are all on the FEC.
Wow, interesting. Okay, let's move along because we've been trying to figure out a way to kind of shorten up our turns and stuff, though. Somebody made a suggestion maybe we could break it up on other turns, though, but as long as we can keep it in, say, 20, 25 minutes, we'd probably be good. So we're at 16:40 now, so go ahead, though. Let's try to cover everything.
Yeah, so CSX has been using drones. This is another story.
I've seen that.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm crazy about this, Mike. They operate more than 250 drones. And I don't know, the CSX police uses them. The bridge inspectors rely on them. I guess they use it in mapping. And then some people have told me they've used it looking at the track. I don't know about that. I can understand for the mapping, but for the track inspection, I think that's pretty risky. I think you got to have human eyes doing that. You need people who are out there right on the tracks because you don't want something to happen. And a drone isn't close enough to see every little thing that could happen with the tracks.
Well, I know the state of Ohio does that as far as ODOT, though. They check under these bridges where highway bridges going over rivers and stuff where they can't really get anybody up. They do that here. They've been doing that all along for a long time since drones were invented or came out or something like that. But I agree with there's things that you're not going to see very good on a drone. I don't know. Some of the video images are really outstanding. You got to give it that, though. But people should need to get in there and actually see what's going on. I don't know. I agree, though. You need a human, though, to really look close if there's something suspected, though. And drones will help, though. Definitely would help, though, as far as seeing a problem that's going to progressively get worse or something. So, well, the mixture of both, I think, would probably be great because they need to be followed up by actual real human, you know.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, and people I know that when there's guys that I've known that have worked like in the high rail trucks, you know, that have tested the tracks. And it's a job that, you know, I mean, especially when the weather gets warm or very cold,
Yep.
It's very important then to do it. And then the big thing is, too, like, you know, obviously finding time to do it when the traffic gets busy. So it's an important thing that they need to, you know, have those people out there because, I mean, yeah, I think there's things that they can go over that, you know, a drone, even if a drone's close to the tracks, it can't exactly see it. You know, and I think to me, those people are really valuable people to a railroad for sure, especially if they've been out there a long time and they know, you know, if they've worked in maintenance away, they really can know how to fix things.
Absolutely. For sure.
So, yeah, so while we're talking about fixing things, BNSF fixed the Stampede Pass out in Washington. They fixed it March 28th. They reopened it. There was a washout near Easton on the Stampede subdivision there on March 20th. So they really got this fixed pretty quickly. Obviously, there was a lot of rain in this area. This is a line, Mike, that is used primarily for heavy eastbounds coming from Seattle. You know, trains that are really, they want to avoid the Columbia River Gorge line and the Stevens Pass line. Those lines are pretty busy with, you know, intermodal traffic and carload traffic. And it seems like this line is used kind of similar to how the Conemaugh line of Norfolk Southern is used between Pittsburgh and Johnstown, where they'll run the real heavy eastbounds this way because of the grade. So again, here's another good example of, you know, BNSF understanding that we can't condense everything onto one route. We're going to use a route that's maybe not the most. For years it was mothballed and they didn't use it, and they brought it back. And I think they know with the oil trains and, you know, big heavy trains that are lumber that are running east out of the Pacific Northwest, other parts of the country, they know this is a track they got to have because it definitely helps these eastbounds get over the road a lot easier. So good on BNSF for fixing this track in less than a couple weeks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, we're at 21:36. We keep going for, you know.
Yeah, so a couple other stories. I guess there's a story that came out. There was a CN train that backed into the Amtrak.
Yeah, I was looking at that. How in the heck could that happen?
Yeah.
You have any ideas? Wasn't there somebody on the back of the train guiding the engineer or something, or what?
Good question. Yeah, I don't know where the conductor was. I mean, obviously, you know, I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense how they could back into this. Obviously, you know, it's just very poor. You know, you would think with this PTC, the positive train control, this would help prevent something like this. But again, this is where I think the inexperience of a lot of these people now on the railroad, the dispatchers don't know the territories, as we've seen in those videos.
Yeah.
We've also seen that a lot of these conductors and engineers really don't get the full training. Contrary to what we see on YouTube, a lot of these people just don't get trained correctly. So they go out there and they kind of are thrown, you know, to the wolves. And, you know, I think they know the very basics, but they don't know the territories great. And they probably, you know, just misjudge this big time. So I would assume these people, the engineer, the conductor, have to be disciplined severely for this. Maybe
or something.
Fired, I don't know. I'm not sure what happens. That's something you probably would have to talk to, you know, someone with one of the unions. But this is like, there's no excuse for this. I mean, obviously, this is where you got to know that, like, you have to understand you have so many feet and so many, miles of a train. If you got another train right behind you, you got to understand how much area do you have to work with. So this is just people just obviously not doing their job correctly and not really knowing their territory. And sadly, it's this stuff just seems like it continues to happen when these railroads have made all these cuts.
You know, you'd think they got these EOTs on the back. You think they could possibly put backup cameras, a rear view camera, so the engineer can see what the hell's going on at the other end.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. You'd think they got them on cars.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. And plus, I mean, if you do have distributed power there, you would think that would, if it's on the rear of the train, you would think that camera could look out, and connect to the locomotive in the front. But, I mean, I don't know if that's ever been discussed or not. It definitely should have been, though, for sure, to prevent this craziness.
I mean, cameras, are cheap, nowadays. So they could put a little camera inside that EOT sitting on there, though, and actually have alarms telling you you're getting close. Stop the train, dummy. Stop the train, dummy. Beep, beep, beep. Stop the train, dummy. No, but that would be a thing that they should do so an Amtrak don't get backed into again, or any other train.
Yeah, there's just a lot of there's a lot of things I wonder about that. Like, why was the Amtrak held back further? How was the dispatcher involved? I think there's blame to go around on all sides with this fiasco. It's not just, it's everybody. It's obviously the people backed into it. It's the dispatchers. It's the, just the whole thing. I mean, just doesn't make sense how something like this could happen in modern day on a Class 1 railroad.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, I can't figure that one. Somebody wasn't running on 8 cylinders that day, or whatever cylinders they got. They were missing a couple. Oh, jeez. Oh, man. That's the chuckle of the night, though. Okay, what, you got a couple more to go here?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple more stories here. I guess, so April 1st, obviously we know, is April Fool's Day. It also would have been Conrail's 50th birthday if Conrail was still around.
Yeah.
Obviously, Conrail turned out to be very profitable. A lot of people, a lot of these historians and these people go on train orders. They have a lot of complaints about Conrail and how they cut out the Erie-Lackawanna and they cut out the Lehigh Valley and all that, and the Fort Wayne line, west of Crest line, and you hear all this talk. Mm-hmm. But the reality is this, Mike. Conrail funneled all the trains basically into a big X was their system. Berea was the middle of the X. They had Chicago and New York or northern New Jersey were one part of the X. St. Louis and Boston were the other part of the X. They had trains that ran locally, that ran in other areas, but primarily, Mike, their system was around this big X, and they did a really good job at doing that. And they got so good, they had a monopoly. So I think they need to be looked at more as applauded than, ripped apart. I mean, all these people say, well, they did away with service on like an old Erie-Lackawanna line or an old Lehigh Valley line. Well, you know what? There's no guarantee if those railroads had stayed around that they would have even been profitable. So it was, look, all those railroads were doing so bad at that time, they combined to make Conrail, and in a decade, Conrail was doing great, and then another decade they were doing so well, they were bought out by 2 different railroads. So they're a success story. The history of them, honestly, Mike, is a good history. I want to remember, how all the trains were funneled onto the Chicago line between, say, Cleveland and Toledo, and, they somehow figured out a way to really run efficiently. You know, probably better than CSX and NS have. And Conrail's successful. I mean, people want to hate on them. Hey, their bread and butter was Chicago to the East Coast.
Yeah.
And, you know, St. Louis to Boston, and they did a darn good job in it. And I think they need to be applauded. And 50th birthday, hey, you know what? If they were still around, all these people complaining about them would still be watching them if they were still around.
Wow, really? Okay, we're at 28:53, so we're trying to keep this short, though. I know there's a lot of topics that cover up in a short time, though. See, the problem on the net, though, I guess, sometimes we get long-winded, though, and the rounds take too long, and people can't get in, though, in between, though. I mean, we leave pauses and stuff, so you got one more topic before we kind of end this?
Yep, the Union Pacific, the big boy steam engine, that's going to be coming east this year. It's going to be running on NS. Obviously, the speculation is that this is all going to be Union Pacific track.
I want to see it.
I do too. Yeah,
I want to see that big boy.
Yeah, I'd love to see him as well. I guess the rumor is he's going to go east on the nickel plate to Buffalo, and then down the southern tier, and then kind of into northern New Jersey, and then he'll come back west through Pittsburgh and stay on the main line of NS between Chicago and the East Coast. So it'll be fascinating what they did. They did this years ago with a business train the UP ran into New York City area for the Harriman family. They had to invest in cab signals and all this for the engines. You know, so obviously it's going to be interesting to see how it works and how it goes down, but it will be fascinating to see a steam engine on a Class 1 main line.
Absolutely. So that means that big boy will be coming by my neck of the woods. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
oh, boy, I better keep an extra eyes out for that sucker. Though it's hard to tell what time this year it's going to come through, but I seen the mapping, though, from, I don't know, California coast up to Cheyenne, Wyoming, though, but I didn't see anything about extending out this way, but I hope the hell they do. I want to see that bugger, you know. Absolutely. Okay, we're at 31 minutes, Dave, so I hate to cut you off short here, though, but we got lots of other people coming on. I hopefully got another person coming on my next round, so is that about it?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we got to a lot of topics there. And,
very good.
Yeah, appreciate you having me back on, and looking forward to seeing you, your videos on YouTube where you get back out to Railfan. It'll be good to see that.
Okay, looks like next month, though, we'll see you on May 9th.
Awesome.
All
that
right.
sounds good, Mike.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Very good. Thank you, Dave, for filling me in, though, that you, and I've got a lot of people on my channel that says, you know your shit. I got a lot of compliments on that, though, and everything, and you too, so, but, and I enjoy having you on here, too, because I learn one hell of a lot from you. Okay, thanks, Dave.
You got it, Mike. Yeah, thanks again, man, and appreciate all the people who listen to the show as well. I know I sent it out to a bunch of rail fans. And
we got some listeners tonight. Yeah, we got listeners on the Great Liberty Net when we're on here, so definitely. Okay, thanks, Dave. We'll see you next month, and I'll be talking to you during the week too. So, all right, thanks, Dave.
Yep, happy Easter to you.
You too. Okay, David Coleman from Style, Ohio, though, filling me on and what's going on in the railroad industry. So, with that, though, let's get it over to net control and keep it on going. We actually did fairly okay. Like to see if we can condense it up a little further, though, in the future, though. But anyway, hopefully I can get a hold of the Big Daddy Corp. If not, he gave me some material. So, back over to net control, KA2PTE. With WB4AIO, and I like this picture that came up. Don't monkey this up. I love it. I don't know who sent that. It scrolled down too far, but anyway, thanks for whoever sent that. That's pretty cool. All right, back over to that. This is N8RBI.